There is actually talk of Pierce Brosnan doing Bond again
Oh, that would be amazing.
as like a retiree. But then the problem is that's basically what like at least the last two or three Craig films weren't they? I'm too old. Need
I
to
mean,
pack
that
it
would
in.
do. I mean, can you imagine? But I mean, people got annoyed when they killed off James Bond. Can you imagine
Yes, yeah.
what the meta would be if they bring back James Bonds?
Well, can I just say something because of the news regarding Bond, and now it's been passed over from the Broccolis to
The
I
Spider
think
Mans,
the Harry Potters,
Amy Pascal,
Amy Pascal,
and
and
one of the dudes.
David Heyman. I
Yeah.
think his name is from old Harry Potter. Because I have to call it old Harry Potter now because we have new Harry Potter.
Yep.
But no, that actually makes sense now that he did die because of the changing of the guard. Almost, it is
Yeah.
literally the end of the Broccoli era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway,
Let's deep dive 5.
hello, I am Sam.
I'm Ian.
And we welcome you back to the 5th episode of the Deep Dive 5, a show where we dive into 5 topics regarding the career of a filmmaker and their latest film or TV show. In the latest episode, we will go in depth on the career of Ian's favourite actor, Ben Affleck, as his latest film, The Accountant 2, nears its release. The sequel to the 2016 film action thriller, The Accountant. And the new film is called... you guessed it, The Accountant 2. When was the last time this happened? I thought about this when I was writing this up earlier. When was the last time a film was called something and then they just added a 2?
Speed 2.
Because no, they don't do it anymore, do
No,
they?
they don't. It's not really a thing.
They
is
always
it?
they just call it, I don't know, like John Wick was like John Wick.
Paranormal Activity 2.
Was that the last one?
I don't know. I'm just spitballing random films.
Well, we
that
did
come to
mention
my
that
mind.
in the latest Such a Ranker. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. But yes, have you seen The Accountant by any chance?
I have seen The Accountant.
You have? I have not, so you can be our leader, because you're a big Affleck fan anyway.
Oh, a huge Affleck.
The Accountant 2 will be released on the 25th of April through Amazon and Warner Brothers. I believe it's an international release through Warner Brothers, because I'm not really sure how people can watch this. Is it coming out at the cinema?
Yeah.
It is?
Cinema release, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's actually getting it looks to be positioned as a big cinema release.
Oh, okay. The film has so far gained positive reviews and has even received a better reception than the first film. Ian, explain your relationship with Ben Affleck, and do you think he brings pedigree to the action thriller?
I think that's two very, very, very different questions.
It is.
I have had a really complicated relationship with Ben Affleck.
Yes.
And I think when I was really thought about this the other day, and I thought, right, what is it about the relationship with Ben Affleck where it's been so tumultuous? Because I actually quite like him. Like from interviews and things like that, I quite like him. I've had recent films that I've walked away from saying that's not bad. I've always liked him as a director, but I've always just been rather annoyed by his presence on screen. And I think it all comes down to I grew up with his films in the early to mid 2000s, which just so happened to be the peak of the decade in which he was voted by the Razzies the worst actor of a decade, or at least nominated for. I don't know if he won it, but he was nominated
Rob
for.
Schneider or Adam Sandler, Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck was, but he was in blockbuster films at a time that he wasn't doing that well, and so I think that really painted my impression of him for a really long time. Like I couldn't look at his stuff without being like, oh, okay, great. And so that kind of led me to, I went down a very long time. I mean, when we first met, I was sitting there going, Ben Affleck.
Well, just for our audience to add context to this, me and Ian met at Odeon, where we were colleagues back in the good old days. And one of the most famous sort of like ongoing things with like the fun at the cinema was when a Ben Affleck film would come out and everyone would gather around Ian for his reaction, because they were usually hilariously priceless. And
they were annoying.
Because Argo, not to age us terribly, but Argo had just come out, I think, or was coming out the year we met.
Yeah.
So it was like the big, almost like return to form for Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Or cemented it at least. He had done quite a few decent films before that.
I think I've always preferred him as a director than an actor.
Yes.
And so behind the screen to on the screen, I've always said that anyway. So I've never had really a bad thing to say about his directing. In fact, to the point, I actually sing his praises when it comes to his directing. But I must admit, like, his on-screen presence and the characters that he is just didn't work to me until Gone Girl. And then it started to click for me. And I could go back and I could view a couple of his films through a different lens. And I could kind of appreciate where he was, like the kind of roles that he was best positioned for. The problem is none of those roles occurred between 2000 and 2010. They just didn't. Like, you could say he did have a couple of sprinklings of like okay stuff, but it wasn't that great. You know, for me, like peak me going to the cinema with my mates was Daredevil and stuff like that, which wasn't great. You know, it just wasn't good.
Daredevil 2003 was bad.
Well, I mean, some may say it's a hidden gem, but I'm definitely not one of those people.
Gigli.
I'm definitely not one of those people. Yeah, they're back to back, right? With Gigli or
Gigli
or whatever it is.
Yes.
But the other question, is he pedigree to the action movie or the action thriller or whatever it is? I think we're asking the wrong question here. The Accountant 2 is taking a very, very, very different stance to the first one. The first one is an action crime caper thriller. There's no comedy in it whatsoever. This second one with John Bernthal seems more like an action comedy. And I think it's a different role entirely, because what you're doing is you're taking the character from the first film my main criticism of the first film was it took itself too seriously. And it really was. And so then any of the levity that they were trying to inject into it was there. It was good, but it didn't really feel of a place because they hadn't really set a good tone. It was all over the place. This one, from what the trailers at least, is a different version of that character. You've bring in then buddy cop kind of situation. It looks good. It looks like it could be good fun. And I think what then we need to be asking is he the right choice for the action thriller, or is it actually more of is he the right choice for the straight guy in a buddy cop comedy, action comedy? And I think when you go down that route, I think he's got better chops for it, because I think the stuff that he does on screen is the stuff where he's a bit more self-aware, where he's a bit more kind of having a bit of a laugh. I think because of that, he might do quite well in this. And so I think like we're actually asking ourselves the wrong question. I think it's more of a case of, does he fit more into the buddy cop drama than he does the action thriller?
I think he definitely works with his comedy chops.
Yeah.
Yeah. When was the last time he did like a fully fledged comedy?
Jay and Silent Bob reboot?
Really?
Possibly. Well, that's the last time where I can actually think he was actually taking the mickey out of himself. Because isn't Jay and Silent Bob reboot the one where him and Matt Damon pitch Good Will Hunting 2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's had a very, very interesting career generally.
Well, how do you feel about Ben Affleck, though? Right? Because we know where I've come from. I come from a very tumultuous relationship with the guy. But how do you feel about Ben Affleck?
He's always been, well, for much of my life, he was kind of like a joke, because I was quite young when he sort of like went through his sort of terrible era, which is generally after Good Will Hunting until Gone Baby Gone.
Yeah.
Possibly.
And even Gone Baby Gone, he's not on screen for that.
But I do have a weird soft spot for Armageddon, but he's like the worst part of the film.
Okay.
I never really liked the relationship, and he was always so whiny and irritating in that film.
I never liked Armageddon, so
no.
What surprise?
Yes. Well, but that's what I mean. Like Michael Bay. I mean, I was probably the perfect age to enjoy Michael Bay's schlock, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's always kind of lived in the shadow of Matt Damon, in the sense of like where they were from Good Will Hunting, and I think people generally prefer Matt Damon in a way. I'm always very intrigued by their relationship.
See, now that's interesting to me, because I think before Matt Damon got born, which was what, 2001? 2001?
2002. I think.
By that point, I think Ben Affleck had been in more films, or at least more starring higher up the roster.
No, Matt Damon he did The Talented Mr. Ripley, Saving Private Ryan, Oceans.
Yeah, but before
Dogma with Ben Affleck, obviously.
Yeah, but before, we mentioned this, didn't we, in the last episode of Such a Ranker, when we were talking about Saving Private Ryan. He was hired as a relative unknown to be in Saving Private Ryan. So, pound for pound, let's say, Ben Affleck was a bigger draw Because by the time you get to 1999, Saving Private Ryan, Ben Affleck had been in like Shakespeare in Love, Chasing Amy. Like he'd been in quite a few things. Armageddon was 98. So he'd been in quite a few things before then. Matt Damon had his 1999.
Where do you fit Ben Affleck in terms? Because he wanted to be a leading man, didn't he? That's what like Pearl Harbor led to. And I just don't think it ever really worked for him in that sense. So it's hard to know where he's sort of like... It's always been hard to know where he fits.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think his strengths have always lied in very particular niche roles.
Yes.
And I think the particular niche roles that got him where he was were unfortunately not where he kind of excels, shall we say.
But we can go into his backstory now.
Yeah.
In his humble beginnings.
Let's see where he came from.
So he was actually born in California, which I didn't know until today. But he was born in California in 1972, and then he moved to Massachusetts. Him and his younger brother, Casey Affleck, who is also a very well-known actor who won an Oscar for Manchester by the Sea about 7-8 years ago now. They were
That's frightening. 7 or 8 years ago.
Oh, that's crazy, isn't it? They were inspired to follow the arts by their mother. From an early age, she encouraged them to make home films and regularly took them to theatre productions. Their careers started when they were kids, starring in quite a few adverts, which were made famous on the Graham Norton Show, because they somehow found all these clips from like the late 70s, early 80s. Ben Affleck.
Wow.
And he puts like quite a lot of effort in. At high school in Massachusetts, he met Matt Damon, and together they became friends and moved to New York to get acting auditions. And then after a few bit part appearances in TV, Ben Affleck appeared in the cult classic Dazed and Confused in 1993.
We were actually just talking just before this as well. He actually starred in an uncredited role with Matt Damon in the crowd of Field of Dreams.
Yes.
So actually, technically, I suppose he's been in a few things before that.
Never seen that film.
Never seen Field of
No,
Dreams?
it's like Ray Liotta's first
like
big-ish film, isn't it?
It's just a little bit heartwarming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Costner.
It gets you in the feels. But baseball's not like a huge thing in the UK. So it's harder to feel the connection as sport and family and like that connection and go for a catch with your dad.
Honey,
like
I
it
Shrunk
doesn't
the
hit
Kids
as much, but
has a lot of baseball in it, and that resonated with me in my household.
I suppose Moneyball as well. It's very baseball.
Yeah, but that's like intelligent sports.
Well, that's what I mean. That's like an intense baseball film.
Yeah. When are we going to do Kevin Costner? That would be a good
Horizon Part 2, if it ever sees a release.
I can't wait for that one. 1997 proved to be Ben Affleck's breakthrough year with a leading role in Kevin Smith's Chasing Amy before co-writing and appearing in Good Will Hunting, a film that would bag Affleck and Matt Damon their first Oscars. The following decade would prove challenging for Affleck, as we've just mentioned, with starring roles in the films Pearl Harbor, Geely, and Daredevil, proving to be huge disappointments. In 2007, Affleck made his featured directorial debut with Gone Baby Gone, which proved to be a return to form and gave Affleck credibility behind the camera. His next directing work was the well-received The Town, which was followed by the Oscar-winning Argo, which saw Affleck win for Best Picture and Director. Affleck's next venture would see him play the iconic role of Bruce Wayne Batman in the hit-and-miss Zack Snyder DC films. Affleck's career has taken a quieter path in the last few years, but he again collaborated with Matt Damon in the successful film Air, before the latest release of The Accountant 2. Where do you think his career peaked? Or does it still have like its golden time in the sun? Because he's got two peaks, isn't he, really?
He has two careers. No, he also has two careers.
Two careers.
As one as an actor, one as a director. And I think you have to note the differences between the two of them. Mm. He has far more success as a director, and I can see him doing much more as a director than I can see him doing as an actor anymore. So I wonder almost if his two peaks are somewhat different. Their timelines are different in as much of he's had his acting career a bit like Clint Eastwood.
Yes, well, I was going to mention this actually at the very end where we talk about like what's next for them.
Yeah,
and if he has the motivation, I think he could very much easily go down the Clint Eastwood route.
Yeah,
because I think
it wouldn't surprise me because he has an eye for directing. He really does. Like you cannot deny the films that he has directed. The only blip is Live by Night. So did you see Live by Night?
I have not seen Live by Night.
So it was kind of a very generic gangster film that had a lot going. The main central plot of it was really slow, but it had about 1 million side plots that just kept you taken away from it. And it just wasn't paced that great, and so I didn't get on well with it as much as the others. I really wanted to love it because I'm a fan of all of his other work, but Live by Night was just quite disappointing. But I think ultimately it's still not a bad 4 out of 5, right? Of which one of them bagged him an Oscar. Like, that's not a bad little run, and I can see that being the next thing. If you're going to say peak of his acting, I'm not sure if we've ever really seen a peak of his acting. I think we mentioned right at the opening, you've got Gone Girl, which for me was the clicking point where all of a sudden it clicked. I would also arguably say he was a really good Batman and he was a good Bruce Wayne. So he was arguably one of the better things of the Zack Snyder DC Universe thing. So you could say that that's a good run because he then turns up in things like Suicide Squad. He basically retires the role in The Flash. He's in the 2 versions of Justice League. And to be fair, Zack Snyder's Justice League, while it is 4 hours long, is a better film. So you could arguably say he had, 4 tries at that? So if you're going to say where's his peak, I'd probably say the 2010s because they're his most interesting roles. Argo, The Town, Gone Girl, Batman vs Superman. Obviously, he had The Accountant as well in this time, but he's, as I say, you mentioned all the other stuff. He's also in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, where he's taking the mickey out of himself. And there's not a lot of duds in that time either. Runner's not that great. As I say, Live by Night's not fantastic. Triple Frontier is a very, very generic kind of action schlock. There's nothing to it. And then you could then round that out with 2020, The Way Back, which came out just as COVID was kicking in.
Yes.
So there's no real reds, shall we say. There's mostly greys, a few greens, but I wouldn't say
2010 to 2016, I would argue, is kind of his peak.
True, but
because you got to think he stars and directs in The Town, which was a big success, and then you're looking at he did Argo, which was almost like his return to prominence, and then Gone Girl is a really, really good vehicle for him. I would say that the peak ends with Batman versus Superman. Now I know the film's not particularly good, but I know, including you, went into the film thinking, how can he play Bruce Wayne? There was so much criticism. For him getting the role, and I think he kind of nailed it.
He absolutely nailed it. He's a great Batman. He's a great Batman, but he's a better Bruce Wayne, and that is the thing that's hardest to nail.
People went into the film. I think went into those films thinking that was the biggest concern, and that was basically the biggest relief.
It was the nice thing about the film.
Yeah.
I would have happily watched a Ben Affleck Batman movie.
It's not too late.
It is. He's absolutely washed his hands of it, and they've all but written off the character. So
yeah, but I would argue that's almost like his peak in a way. He's got Oscar. He's got Oscars in the bag. He's got acclaim again. His films are working, and then I would almost say after Batman vs Superman, I think something happened to him, and I think he's now really struggling to find his mojo again. Because when was the last
Air
time?
was really good.
I've not actually seen Air.
Air is a really good film. He's directed that. Matt Damon's in it. It's a good collaboration between the two of them again. And I think it was a really good precursor to... There's a potential Monopoly movie going around, or a movie based on the Monopoly... Right. Do you know there's a huge story in America, which is where a guy basically just completely fleeced McDonald's. Or no, yeah, McDonald's Monopoly.
Yeah.
And so he absolutely fleeced it. And it was for hundreds of millions of dollars. He just worked out a way to play McDonald's Monopoly and just fleece McDonald's loads of money. Well, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck were attached to that project for a little while. And I think Air was essentially a precursor to it. Almost like, we really want to make this movie, but make Air first or something like that. I wonder if they had one of those deals going on. But Air is a really good movie. I
just find the premise of it, it's just, there's a lot of films that are just based on products at the moment that sort of put me off. I'm quite cynical with stuff like that because it's everywhere. There was one about Tetris and obviously Barbie, and
Tetris doesn't make any sense. There's a car chase in Tetris. What is that about? But I would say Air though is a bit different because it's more of a... you could say that about most movies are a product, right? But when it's so obviously just about something that just shoes or... Well, it's about there's a lot of it that's about the talent spotting, like we are a shoemaker and a sponsorship that is going after a talent, and we've got to find the right person to attach our product to. That then it's like a snapshot in time of a very successful product. So it's a bit like the Steve Jobs movie, which all evolves around the release of one of the I think one of the first iPhones.
The Aaron Sorkin one?
Yeah.
Macintosh.
Yeah, the Mac. Yeah, so it's like the release of all of that, and it's the run up to it and interviews and stuff. You could arguably say that is about a product ultimately.
No, because that's about the individual,
and this is about the individuals that then find and worked on the product with Jordan, finding Jordan, how to sell the product, how it kind of got to where it was.
Okay,
it is a remarkable story in the same way that like there are always going to be some things that just kick off based on just pure luck. Like there's that whole story about how that guy, there's a whole brand of clothes that just got lucky because they sent a T-shirt to like David Beckham. He really liked it, wore it once, and then overnight it became like a global premium brand. And so sometimes those stories are worth telling. They are cynical, they can be cynical, but then every single time you watch a film and you see a product placement, that's movies.
Do you think that because Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, when they won for Good Will Hunting, were very young. They were only like in their mid-20s, and they won for writing, and I think that was just for writing at that point. I don't think they were producers on Good Will Hunting.
No, just writing.
That is one of those like lovely little stories that never really happens too much now, where it's like these sort of like working class kids from Boston, essentially, and then they grow up together, and then they become... It happens a lot with actual brothers, particularly in sport and stuff. But I feel like that very rarely happens. It's probably my favourite like Oscars because Robin Williams won that year too, and they all like look like they're actually like enjoying the time, and there's like an authenticity to it.
Well, it's a combination, isn't it? It's less risk at the moment. Like this studio's a lot more risk averse. So, and also the Oscars become very much, let's give this to the guys that deserve it. Because it's an aging crowd now. Like Oscars and actors and things like that, as they get older, there's an element of, let's give them an Oscar, because they haven't had it for a while. So there's always those runs in the Oscars where it's like, let's just give someone an honorary one. And it's become more so that.
I think that's always been the case with the Oscars. It depends on the year, but there's always been that level of like, well, because Al Pacino never won for Michael Corleone. He got robbed both years he was nominated.
He should have won it.
I think one of them was for they gave the Oscar to somebody who basically like almost invented the television. Samuel L. Jackson famously didn't win for Pulp Fiction. Martin Landau won. So I think that those kind of things have always kind of happened. But for that particular year, because I always look back on that with like particularly with Ben Affleck, and I think, does he regret that level that they got after Good Will Hunting? Because I think Matt Damon's a lot more like, I don't know what the word is specifically, but like prepared for fame and was able to run with it. And I think Ben Affleck has always kind of resented the idea of being famous. And I think that also contributed to why he did so many poor films in the early 2000s.
Okay.
Because he was just like, I'm not really doing this for myself. And then I think he needed to mature a bit and then realise I'd rather direct my own things. Which again, I'm hoping he does eventually, where he does become that Clint Eastwood, where he just sort of works behind the camera. Because that will probably make him less famous. Because I think he hates... Well, I mean, we can get into like his personal stuff with like Jennifer Lopez, and have you seen the Jenny on the Block music video? That's a very interesting story to read, because that Ben Affleck said that ruined his career for like 4 years.
Oh God.
Yeah, I think he needs less drama and just more focus.
Seems to enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like to just do the stuff he likes to do. And if at the moment that seems to be directing, more so than acting, like particularly when you look at his roles in like the last 10 years, look at things like The Last Duel and the Tender Bar, Hypnotic, stuff like that. They're even Air, he's not in it a lot. He's like the character behind the desk. He's not. No, Matt Damon's going out and chasing it. So like he's kind of in these movies, but he's not. He's kind of very like supporting.
Yeah. He's reluctant. It just feels like it does feel like every time he reaches his peak, or let's say like winning the Oscars,
it
does feel like there's like an inevitable decline after, where he just needs to like get out of the limelight.
Yeah, just take a bit of a breather,
Yeah.
just walk away from it for a bit.
But he's, as you say, he's got a lot of talent as a director. So
Yeah.
I hope we see like a good run for him in like the mid to late 20s.
Definitely. No, I agree.
But will you be seeing The Accountant too? Mainly for John Bernthal, who everyone loves. And he's obviously the Punisher. Which
So
is weird.
this is where I find it strange, because The Accountant for me was such a mixed bag. I didn't come out of it like raving. I actually came out of it a little bit disappointed, really. But the trailers hooked me because it is a different angle. It's a different, not like role, but it's a different. It allows him to kind of flex different, like a different skill set that I think you can kind of trust that he might get something more out of it, or we might see more on screen because of that relationship, that dichotomy with John Bernthal. John Bernthal's just a really good on-screen presence as well.
He's great in everything.
Yeah. So
when's he going to get a starring role? I've never seen a film where he's the lead, and he's great at everything.
I don't know. He's difficult to see whether or not he is the lead, because he's such good support in everything, even down to things like The Bear, Walking Dead, even up to. I mean, technically, he's the lead in Punisher. But when Punisher had his own TV show, he's the lead in that, technically.
Do you think Ben Affleck would do well in TV?
I suppose, again, it all depends on the role.
Yeah. Maybe
Really
he could do
depends
like
on
a
the
mini-series.
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting 2. Always wanted to know what happened to his character.
Just watch
Just working on that
Jay and
side.
Silent Bob, the reboot, and you'll get all the information you need. Goodwill Hunted.
When The Accountant 2 comes out, because I do like the comedy, sort of like buddy cop kind of aspect of it. I'm a big fan of Midnight Run. So if it's anything like that, I'll probably give it a watch. I might actually watch The Accountant. You've actually made me intrigued about The Accountant by like how different it is tonally. So yeah, we might give that a watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I think we should leave it there for this week's Deep Dive 5. Thank you for tuning in to the latest episode. We want to hear your opinions on the career of Ben Affleck. What would you rank as his career highlight? If you would like to get more out of The Real Project, you can find us on Spotify. Goodbye, and we will see you soon.
See you later.